inside this room, pump statuses, and we're monitoring the domestic hot water system. So
On that hot water system, you're just monitoring.
we're just monitoring domestic.
Now, will that come across any type of errors or anything on the website?
Yeah, so I think I've got it set that if the domestic hot water supply temperature drops below 100 degrees, we send out an alarm. So we know that there's a problem with the boiler
Okay.
or a pump or something. So we are monitoring the domestic hot water. We are controlling the heating boilers.
Okay.
One thing we added was combustion air dampers over on the wall.
Okay.
Before it was just wide open. This room was always freezing cold. So now we're actually controlling those dampers. So 50% of one damper per stage. So there's 4 stages, so those dampers can be in 4 different positions, either fully closed, half open, or fully open.
Okay.
We are controlling both of these pumps. One pump will run until it drops below 40 degrees outside, and then the second, maybe 30 degrees, I can check on that. But we'll turn on the second pump after it gets below a certain temperature outside. Boilers, we are staging. There are 2 stages per boiler. So we have a low and high fire. So we have 4 different stages. One reason that's important is because we are now resetting the boiler temperature based on outside air. So the warmer it is outside, the lower we can run the boilers. They don't need as much heat. So there's cost savings there as well. So the ability to shut the boilers off in the summer, we're turning the boilers off June 1st through August 31st. We can adjust that. It gets kind of chilly up here at night, even in the summer. So, but we have full control. What else are we doing? We've got temperature sensors. We have alarm contacts on the burner modules. So if this burner module goes into alarm, we'll generate an email alarm as well.
Now, what's the lowest temperature on that controller as far as?
The lowest we can run the boiler?
Mhm.
I believe we are programmed at 160, I believe,
160.
yeah. And we're also monitoring return temperature, so if our return drops too low, we're gonna be trending that and making sure that we're not condensing the boilers. So,
Now, is this a full glycol system? Or
I
is this
believe so, we didn't open it up, so
Okay,
I do believe it is glycol.
so there's no auto feed or anything like that for the glycol?
I don't believe so, I haven't seen anything.
Now, will it monitor the level of the glycol?
No.
If it needs more? No?
Nope, if there's a leak or something, then we'll probably get a boiler failure.
Right.
Low water cutoff will lock this guy out.
So it would actually have to drop below a certain level before the boiler would shut off
Yeah,
and then they would have to put more glycol.
I'm sure somebody would notice the leak before that. So you have one interface on there. There's another web interface that you guys can access from anywhere in the world. Just open up a web browser and so you've got a main page here, and then you've got the boiler plant. So this will, just a quick graphic, shows you what the dampers are doing, outside air temperature, boiler supplies, return, and then you've got your pump statuses.
Can you state the web page on that?
That's gonna be changing. I gotta do some IP address changing on that.
Okay.
So I will email that to everyone.
Okay.
So just simple boiler status, alarm, there's really not much to it. And then you've got domestic hot water boilers. And you've just got supply and return temperatures from the boiler. So you can see if there's a temperature differential, obviously you can tell the boiler's running, and then what your domestic hot water to the building is. And that's basically it. So we have access to all this, all the programming, everything remotely. So if we want to change the dates that the boilers are locked out, the temperatures that they're locked out, we can change all that. And if you guys want, I can even put a schedule on the graphic that you guys could access, but I don't know how many people are going to want to be getting into
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Now, you guys are programming the schedule at this time, or?
Yes.
Okay. Now, who is that schedule set by right now?
Zach.
Zach, okay.
Zach's the one that wanted June 1st, August 31st.
Okay. Now, as far as troubleshooting, let's say I get an alarm and I've got somebody here that doesn't understand the system. I mean, does it show exactly what's going on with it? And
So as far as troubleshooting, if this guy is not an alarm and these lights are off, then we're not calling for the boiler. So you have one relay for low fire, one relay for high fire. So one relay for high fire, one relay for low fire. If these lights are on and this isn't running, we're just making the same dry contact that these used to. So it'd be the same as troubleshooting these guys. We're just creating a contact in here that tells this to run.
Can you kind of explain the low fire and high fire?
So it's just staging. So if we're within a certain point of set point, then we'll drop a stage off so that we're not running two big burners. I did notice toward the end of last year when this was in operation that one boiler on low fire was just coasting the building instead of ramping everything up and high demand. We were just running a single stage on the boiler and just kind of coasting.
So the low fire is basically just for one stage, and then if it goes to a high fire sensor,
Yeah.
then it's going to be crank up the whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
And that's all done based on outside air temperature, temperature of the return and supply from the boilers. So there's a few different things. It's not just one thing making the decision. Yeah, these relays just took place of these guys here. So nothing's really changed as far as the boilers. It's just we're telling these guys to run from over there
Right.
instead of these guys being local.
Now, as far as the fresh air coming in, you were saying there's 4 different stages on that?
Yeah, so there's 2 dampers over there in the corner. With one stage running, one damper will be at 50%. 2 stages running, it'll be at 100%. And then if the other boiler comes on with one stage, then the other one opens the same way. So basically a quarter per boiler.
Okay. Now, as far as back over it in the controls, if someone was to come down to look at this, can you kind of go through what they're seeing as far as what might be normal, what might not be normal?
So normal, there's an alarm icon right here. If that's red, then you can click on it and it'll pull up and tell you what the alarms are. Just need to clear it up. So it'll be red like this. You can click on it, acknowledge it, and then once the alarm clears, that'll go away. So
On that one, we actually had a communications failure.
that was, yeah, so that communication fault was just with the expansion module before we had it programmed in.
Right.
It just haven't
So
cleared
that
them.
was- Okay.
Yeah. So I'll clear all those out. So outside air temperature on top, boiler 1 and 2 hot water supplies, hot water return, boiler 1 alarm, 2 alarm, and then we've got the room temperature right here. And then we also have a sensor in the other room where the combustion air is, so we know, or we're not freezing up that room. And then you got pump statuses. So if those pumps are running, you'll see those will say on. And then your domestic hot water monitoring and combustion room temperature.
Now, if someone wanted to go in, can you kind of explain this calendar and everything up there?
So the schedule, since there's nothing in there, it's just blank.
Right.
But you could come in here and program times. This is more of a weekly schedule. So for an outside, or for a monthly lockout, it would be an actual calendar. You could have access to that with the web interface. They're not really done on here. then. And then there are tread logs, so you can see what the boiler was doing, temperatures,
And you got that, how? Go to the menu.
menu, and then there's this little
the
graph, and then you got the trends there.
And I see there's trend 1 and trend 2. Is that per boiler or is that?
So there are different trends. Each trend only holds 8 points, so
Okay.
it's just because of the amount of data we have. And if you click on them, it'll pop up and tell you what color is what point. So you can see
Now,
boiler
what are these
statuses. And
up here?
so that's just your
Different days.
different days and whatnot.
Okay.
I believe this will hold the trend for a week with this controller.
Okay.
And we, like I said, we have alarms on everything, so if we're calling for a pump to run and we have no status, that's gonna be an alarm. And these pumps will automatically lead lag, and if one fails, we automatically switch over to the other one. So we're doing everything we can to keep the building warm when we're calling for it.
Now, on the lead lag, does that switch
Weekly.
weekly?
Yep, Monday morning at 5 is our standard, that's typically when we switch equipment over. So that's automatic, and like I said, if there's a failure, we'll bring on the other pump to make sure we keep heating. I think that's about it.
Where's the sensor located at in the other room?
This room?